Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Tucson Pima County Historical Commission Plans Review Subcommittee meeting of Thursday, November 30th, 2023. Call to order at 1:01 p.m. And I'll go ahead and do roll call. Terry Majewski is here. Joel Ireland.
Here.
Savannah McDonald.
Here.
Carol Griffith. Carol?
Yes, here.
Okay, thank you. Jan Mulder.
Here.
Ricky Riojas.
Here.
Great, thank you. We have everyone. Item 2 is for the approval of legal action report / minutes for the meetings of October 12th and 24th and November 9th, 2023. Could I have a motion to approve those sets of LAR / minutes?
I don't think we got the minutes for the 9th.
You didn't get, I was being optimistic, and you, sorry, did not get the meeting minutes for the 9th. Okay. So those should be included.
Didn't get a second, did we? So we can just redo the motion for just the 12th and 24th?
Yeah. I'll amend my motion to do that. Yeah.
Okay, Jody, do we need to do an amended thing, or can we just do it because we didn't have a second officially?
You can withdraw that motion. Joel can withdraw that and just state.
Okay, I'll say Joel withdrew original motion and removed. Okay, so you're removing for just the 12th and 24th, Joel?
Yes.
Okay, is there a second for the 12th and 24th set of minutes?
I'll second. This is Carol.
Okay, sounds good. Is there any discussion on those 2 sets of minutes? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and call roll. Terry votes aye. Joel?
Yes.
Savannah?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Ricky? Ricky, do we lose you?
Yeah, Ricky, you're muted.
I said aye. I unmuted and I said aye.
Okay, so we got you. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 3, which is historic preservation zone review cases. We review these under UDC section 5.8/TSM 9-02.0.0 historic district design guidelines and the revised Secretary of the Interior standards and guidelines. Case 3 is TPPRE 1023-00348 at 1135 West Miracle Mile for rehabilitation of the former Amazon Motel. It's a courtesy review, and this is in the Miracle Mile National Register Historic District. It's a contributing resource, and we'll be using the rehabilitation standards. Now, Savannah, you'll need to recuse for this one and the next one.
Yes.
So how about if we text you when we're done?
Sounds good.
It probably will be at least, 30 to 45 minutes. 30
okay.
is 45 is more like
so. Okay, sounds good.
Okay, for the record, Savannah's recusing for this case and the next one. So, okay, Jody or Michael, do you want to give us background on this case?
Sure. Third time's a charm. Sarah is here this time to give you. Sarah Megason is with the Housing and Community Development, and she is here to give you some background on the 1135 West Miracle Mile, the rehabilitation of the Amazon Hotel that they will be working on.
Okay, sounds good. Go ahead, Sarah.
Hello, everyone. Thank you. Apologies for having COVID at the last meeting. It's nice to be here. I'm going to end up actually tossing it off to our design professionals who are well-versed on what we're doing, but this is intended to be a permanent supportive housing project located in the historic Amazon Motel. The city of Tucson purchased the motel, and we're looking to rehab it. So I can answer any questions on the use and how we intend to use it, but I will toss it to Zoe to talk through the proposed rehab that we're doing.
Thanks. Let me share my screen. Oh, can I share my screen?
Yeah, I just had to make you. You should be able to do it now. I just had to make you
Okay.
co-host.
Okay. Can everybody see that?
Yes,
All
Yeah.
right. I'm Zoe Sadorf. I'm an architect with PMM, and this is the Amazon Motel project. Located off of Miracle Mile, between I-10 and Oracle in this location here. Here's some existing photos of the motel as it currently stands. A stucco building with some metal canopies, flat roof on the support building that we're calling it, and then a simple pitched shingle roof on the area where the units will go. There is an existing pool as well that we're proposing to demo. Here's the site plan that we're proposing. The pool here, we're planning to infill the pool, demo all of the walls around it, and obviously leave this historic sign in place. We're looking at making this sign a heritage landmark sign as well. So we've started the application for that. Here is our proposed site plan. Pool is gone, but we are keeping some of the existing landscaping for seating areas and pet relief areas for future residents. We've also added.
Zoe, we're not seeing that, or at least I'm not seeing that.
Oh, you're not?
I'm still seeing the demo.
Looks
live
to me.
I'm seeing you move around, Zoe. It might
Okay.
just be quirky.
Maybe I should,
Maybe
I'm gonna,
lagging.
yeah, now I can see it. Thank you.
Okay. We're also adding, we're tucking the trash enclosures into the back of the site and adding a required turnaround for fire truck and trash vehicles. As part of the rehab, we're reconfiguring space in the support building to have a couple of offices, a community room, a manager suite for the manager who will live on site, storage spaces, and shared laundry. And as far as the units, 2 on the ground floor are being converted to ADA accessible units, and then the rest are pretty much staying as is. All of them will be having a small kitchenette added to them on this back wall here, and then a closet added as well. We are proposing mechanical systems to be replaced in kind, and we're also looking at replacing existing windows with insulated, better performing windows that match the existing dimensions. Here are some elevations. So we're looking at replacing the metal canopy with a different pre-finished metal. Basically just the color would change. We're looking at paint, adding these new windows that match the historic, and then painting the doors, replacing the railing in kind here. And then one addition we've made is currently the downspouts just kind of hang off the gutter, and they're just kind of hanging in space and are damaged and dented. So we're proposing adding support columns in those locations that help bring that downspout down to the ground. So that's shown here, 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 and then at the end here. basically the exterior of the building is just receiving paint and the new windows, the new insulated windows. And I have the inventory form if we want to look at it. Is there anything else, Sarah or Corky, to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add on the new windows, the windows that we're replacing are not the original windows. They were a later addition, single glazed, facing west. And so that's really problematic for the development of the project. And so we are replacing contemporary windows with better contemporary windows. We are not whatever the historic windows were are long gone. The other thing I did want to mention is that, and I don't know if this is fair to do to you, Zoe, but part of the strategy of removing the pool has to do with a phase 2 new build that's going to happen on the western part of the site. Is there a way you can show that?
Yeah. Generally, the new building is proposed about here. So a portion of that building will be built on top of where the pool is now.
So this is a new low-income housing tax credit project slated for the next couple of years. It has a similar motel style to it that will be facing the other motel. But you can see from this footprint that part of the absolute reason, well, there are two reasons we need to remove the pool. One is this project in the future is really not feasible unless we do. And number two, it's inappropriate to try to keep and maintain a pool when the adaptive reuse of this project is for transitional housing at this location.
Okay, are you ready for questions and comments?
Yep.
Okay, who would like to begin? And
This is
remember,
Ricky.
yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
Ricky.
How many total in this first phase? How many total rooms will there be? Not including the
So-
manager's suite.
There'll be 30.
And 2 of those are ADA?
Yes.
Okay. And then, I mean, it looks like there's enough parking. The parking is just the same, right? You're just leaving that where that drive-in is right now?
So the parking will be reduced, but we are going to be working on an IPP for that.
Okay. And the doors, so I know you said you're replacing the windows, but the doors are staying as they are?
Yeah, the doors are in pretty good shape and we're just proposing painting those.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Great. Who's next?
This is Jan. I'll go next. I realize the windows aren't historic, but I just was curious about the materials of the windows that are the replacement windows. And I wasn't clear if it was just on that one facade, the west facade, or if it was all windows that were being replaced.
So we're looking at replacing all of the windows. They're currently aluminum windows and we're proposing vinyl.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, any other questions?
No, I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Joel, how about you?
Yeah, as usual, good presentation, and thank you. I'm sorry, what was the name of the first person who presented? Sarah?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Corky, good presentation, appreciate it.
Zoe did all the work, so thank you.
Oh, well, good. Well, grab some credit. How old is the building? What is the age from, you know, when it was originally built?
It's 1964 is when it was constructed, I believe.
Okay. And I was going to ask about the pool, so thank you for straightening that out, Corky. When you say you're replacing the mechanical system in kind, what kind are they? What does that mean?
So currently they are these PTAC units here under the window. So we're taking those out and replacing with new.
Oh, I got you. Okay, thank you.
And then
oh, go ahead.
In addition, the support building will have a couple of units on the roof. There's currently some mechanical units on the roof now. So we would just be replacing with new.
Gotcha. And what does it mean? Catch me up a little bit. What does it mean when you say transitional housing? What do you mean by that term?
I can speak to that. So, when we talk about different types of housing and the housing and community development department and the programs that we operate, there's a few different types of housing. There's shelter, which isn't necessarily real housing. There's no lease. People aren't tied to it. This is on the next level where we call it housing. It's permanent supportive housing. Basically meaning that it's people who have come out of homelessness. They've been homeless in the past and they need a service assisting them to stay in the permanent housing. So it's not really transitional housing. I just got an entire tutorial about all of the different types of housing, but ultimately the folks who will be staying here permanently. If they're getting their needs met and they're getting their services that they require. If they don't need to meet those services, they'll move on to a different place. They have a lease, they move forward. But ultimately it's for people who have previously experienced homelessness, need an additional support to kind of help them maintain that housing that they're staying in at this place. And then eventually they could move on, but for the most part, a lot of the people will be here for a longer period of time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, well, good job. Thank you. We appreciate it. Looks good.
Thank you, Carol.
I think it's a great project. It's a very light touch to the building, and replacing in kind. So I have no issues. I was just wondering about color. If I know you're going to be changing the colors, and I just was curious about what you're putting in, or if you're trying to return to something it was before, or just what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the exposed masonry that the building had originally was stuccoed over previously. So right now it's this kind of peachy tan and turquoise. So we're looking at returning it to a little bit more neutral with kind of a dark brown accent color, a less peachy, more neutral tan for the body of the building. And then bringing in some color on the unit doors with like a navy blue. But yeah, that's what we have so far.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions, Carol?
No.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, tell me a little bit more about the sign.
Sure. So here's a good picture of the existing sign. Right now we're working with Heather, I believe it is. Is that right, Sarah? To make this a heritage landmark sign. So I think as part of that, we'll figure out how to best maintain and preserve and what work might need to be done. There are some dents and things. I believe these globes are light fixtures that used to light up. I don't think they do anymore. But rehabbing this sign to be closer to what it was. I know that there are portions of the sign that are missing, that over time had been taken off. So we're still kind of working through exactly what the treatment of the sign will be, but the intent is to have it as a historic landmark sign and clean it up a bit.
So Jody, this would come back through PRS, yes?
Sorry, I had to find the mute button. Correct. It will come back to PRS, and they are working with Heather. You've dealt with Heather before, Heather Thrall, who is the one who puts all that together.
Right, and then when you come back, PPM folks, you'll be talking about how you might change the wording to integrate it more into your design.
Like the wording of the signage on here.
Because sometimes
I,
you change it out. I mean, or you'll just look into that when you get there.
yeah, I think we'll look into that when we get there. We haven't really discussed that piece.
Yeah, and it's not part of this review, but I mean, since we're talking courtesy stuff, I mean, I think it's an interesting sign and that will be a good addition. But it will remain, you'll just have to rehab it and so forth, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? If not, I think we can say that we're all, very supportive of the project and well done. Well, good consideration of all the factors and thank you for your knowledgeable answers. So, and we look forward to seeing, so we won't see this again, Jody?
No, you will see this again. This is just a courtesy review. Per the PA, they will have to come back for a formal review and action from you.
Okay, the reason I ask is because it's in the historic district. So anyway, that's great. I'm glad that we're making good use of one of these properties from the 60s. So thank you again. And
Great.
did
Thank
you have
you.
any questions of us or are you good?
I don't think so.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks.
So we'll move on to item 3B. And again, Commissioner McDonald has recused from this. Case 3B is TPPRE 1123-00369, 1475 North Oracle. It's the rehabilitation of the Tucson house. It's a courtesy review. Also in the Miracle Mile National Register Historic District. It's a contributing resource that we look at under the rehabilitation standards. So, Jody, do you have any background on this?
This is also one that I will pass over to Sarah Megason from HCD to give you the intro.
Sounds good. Welcome, Sarah, again.
Thank you. Thank you. Once again, I will also just toss it to the more expert crew in the room, but wanted to say this is our largest public housing asset that we have at the city of Tucson. And we are excited to be able to rehabilitate it and bring it up to modern standards and get our public housing inventory into a better position sustainability wise. So it is a choice neighborhood grant that we won here at HCD in the city of Tucson for $50 million. It's a very large project, but excited to have Poster Murto McDonald helping us. So I will toss it to Charles to dive into all the details of what this rehab will look like.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Not quite yet, Charles. There we go.
There we go. Okay, I think I was pending application. So I'm Charles Pfeiffer, project architect for the Tucson House project with Poster Murto McDonald. We are working with Gorman and Co. as the developer for the project. And I'll start this conversation by stating that we are seeking a NPS historic tax credit on this project. So we are going to be subject to the stringent rules that go along with that program as well. And so to that end, this presentation includes a little bit of history of the building as well as some information on the interior of the building that may potentially not be germane to this group. I have moved that towards the back and I'll ask if folks are interested in hearing that information as we move forward. I will start with sort of the site and exterior of the building as we move forward here. Just to give a very brief history, the building was constructed and opened in 1963. It was, I believe, the largest building in town for quite some time. It was the pinnacle of luxury housing within Tucson at the time. And within approximately 10 years, let's see, I'll go to my little timeline here. within a little bit over 10 years, the building reverted to HUD and ultimately the city of Tucson, at which point it was converted for low-income housing. So the building has been low-income housing for approximately 45 years and has undergone a number of major renovations since then, with the most significant occurring in 1997, which was a more or less total renovation of units at that time, but not necessarily systems. And I'll discuss a little bit more of that, but that sort of gives you the absolute bare minimum level of knowledge of this iconic building here in town. And so just really quickly to highlight, if you're not familiar, the building sits at the corner of Oracle and Drachman here. It is 17 stories high. Here's a few more historic photos just to give a little bit of information about the original character of the building. We are fortunate to have found some actual representations of what the interior of the building looked like through newspaper and other sources, and I'll touch on that a little bit later. Okay, as I described, the building was financed through an FHA loan, which is why I was able to default ultimately to the FHA and then later to the city of Tucson when the economy sort of turned on the building. Just one last tidbit before I get into the meat here, just because I've dug up so much interesting information, I just love to share it, which is that when the building first opened, the studio units were $115 a month, and the 3 bedrooms were $285 a month. But that actually tracks pretty closely to what you might see today, surprisingly, where $115 is $1,100 and $285 is close to $3,000. So it's actually not far off from what you would expect a luxury apartment to fetch in this area today. So as was described, the building was nominated for the Miracle Mile District in 2012, which is important as this takes place after the work of 1997, which had some major ramifications on the exterior of the building. So here you can see the building in its original form and the building in its current form. There are a few changes, but nothing major. And again, everything that has occurred to the exterior of the building happened before the building was nominated and put on the register. So the work that we are proposing to the building is a total interior renovation, including replacement of all systems within the building. Every pipe, wire, and light fixture that is not of historic character will be replaced. That's the interior. On the exterior, we are treating this with a very light touch. Again, we are seeking that historic tax credit, and we are very serious about making sure that we are successful in that request. So what you can see here on our elevation, I'll just quickly describe the major work that is taking place on the exterior of the building. In 1997, the full glass that was present at each apartment balcony was replaced with an EIFS wall with an 8-foot sliding glass window, or excuse me, sliding glass door. And we will be replacing those sliding glass doors in kind, aluminum for aluminum in this case. And we will be refinishing, you can see here, these balcony railings. They are in good condition. They just need a fresh coat of paint. And we'll discuss colors here, I think, maybe closer to the end, and I would be curious to hear what folks think. This gradated color scheme came in 1997. The original color matches the rather dusty blue of the Tucson House sign here, which is in its original condition here. One of the things we will be doing will be rehabilitating this sign, including bringing back the lighted functionality of it. It was originally a backlit metal sign, and we'll be restoring that to functionality. I mentioned a total system replacement. The building is currently served by a 2-pipe hydronic system to a, let's see if you can just barely see it here. There's a outbuilding over here that has chillers on the top of it. And we will be abandoning that system in favor of a all electric, I'll use the word mini split here because that's what you would recognize the exterior component of the system as, but it is technically a different type of system. But we will be installing on each balcony a new outside condensing unit. And what's good about the project is that this, I'm going to quickly jump back over here. This railing is relatively opaque from the important vistas to those units. And so we are working with a national historic consultant on our documentation that we're going to provide to NPS. And so far, they're okay with the strategy of installing anything that would be considered to be new on the exterior of the building will be concealed behind this relatively opaque guardrail. Everything else here is repainting, removing and resealing caulking, and so forth. So no sort of new modifications to the overall exterior of the building. Okay. And so here's another view of that where you can see that within the individual balcony, we will be adding a mechanical unit, but that it is not visible from ground level. At the, let's see here, actually, I'll kind of zoom to that. So here really quickly is a view of the sign. We're fortunate to have an image of when they were actually installing the sign hanging off of a makeshift crane back in the 60s. And so we are working with Floresco to rehabilitate this sign back to its original functionality, as I mentioned previously. One thing that I think is worthy of discussion is that the building has a very high profile within the city. And as we replace mechanical units on the building, as you can see in these current photos, some of them are visible from a great distance away. By the time you're about a quarter mile away from the building, all the way out to when you're camping on Mount Lemmon, you can see these pieces of mechanical equipment. And so these will be replaced with, let's just say, with other equipment that we are initially proposing will not be screened. Though there were historic screens in place that have subsequently been removed. And so we're currently in the process of weighing whether a screen is appropriate for this. And I would be curious to hear the thoughts of this board. This is a view of the main entry to the building. Our treatment theory for this area is to restore the main entry back to its original configuration as was present when the building opened in the 60s to the greatest extent possible. And so we are, as a rule, either not touching work or we're restoring it faithfully. And so at the exterior here, there have been a few doors that have been added. Subsequently, they'll be removed. And we will be repairing and replacing damaged marble, and so restoring this to its original feel and configuration. Also in that same area, immediately to the right, is what was originally a fountain that you can see here in the really cool pamphlet that we have for the building. And we are proposing to restore the footprint of that fountain, but not necessarily the functionality. So to this whole sort of entry court landscape area will be restored essentially to its original feel, though possibly with a substitute material for the water of the fountain, as that is no longer something that is typically employed in projects of this sort, and also just for water saving purposes. So I want to talk briefly about the site. So this is the original site plan for the building, which has been minorly altered over the years, but is significantly intact. There are two cast in place concrete parking covers here and here that will be preserved and repaired and maintained in functionality. And other than what we just discussed, one of the major things that we will be doing is a reconfiguration of the parking area here to allow us to provide security, a secure perimeter for the site. I will take a moment pause here that the building currently has major issues with security, and it is one of the residents' major requests is to increase security for the building, and we're taking that very seriously with a layered security response in a way that is sensitive to the original design of the site and the building. And so one of those strategies will be here. You can see a version of a reworked parking lot where we have a guest parking that is outside of this gate, and then they'll have to pass through a new either person gate or through a vehicular gate indicated by this blue line here in order to gain access to the site or to the parking lot. And then that is paired with a secondary vehicular gate here, which is sort of for out only for emergency vehicles at the southwest corner of the site. There is a pool to the south of the building, which we will be repairing and bringing into full service. I did take a picture here of this very cool old painted sign that is present in the pool area, just for it's of its time, let's say, maybe without necessarily reading it specifically. And so we are treating this area as more or less a restoration to the original configuration and use of the pool, although of course, a pool barrier has been built, and we will be maintaining a code-compliant pool barrier, which maybe was not originally present, though is currently. So, as far as the exterior of the project goes and the work, there's sort of the purview, as I understand it, of this body. That's it. But I would be happy to sort of give a tour of the inside of the building and the work that we'll be doing there, if interested. Should I proceed with that?
I am interested in that. Is everyone else okay with a brief tour of that?
Yeah,
I'd like
can I
to-
ask some questions about the outside part first before I forget them?
Do that. Let's go
Absolutely.
first.
Yeah, since that's our main thing. So on the in talking about the gate, do you know what type of material that gate is going to be, or sorry, the gate for the main outside part, or how tall that gate is going to be?
Yes. Zoe, do you want to speak to your thoughts on that gate?
Sure. Yeah, so the gate we're looking at is about just over 7 feet tall. And the material we're looking at is a metal mesh that is 1 inch tall by 2 inches wide, which we thought kind of mimicked the opening profile of the existing guardrail. It's kind of longer and skinny. So mimicking that feel while obviously being a new material.
Okay, thank you. And then those in the front of the building where you're talking about at the entrance removing some doors and replacing some marble, where's the marble currently at?
Yes. So we will get a very good picture of that when I dive inside. The door that we're speaking about removing was added subsequent to the original construction here. This one door here, where the original door is this door. And this has been replaced by a grocery style automatic sliding door, and it'll be replaced with a standard aluminum double door as was originally installed.
But
Okay,
it will
and then-
replace grocery store style door.
Sorry, say again?
It will replace the current door. It won't be that same style, or it will.
It will be a restoration of now removing the grocery store style sliding door and replacing it with a standard aluminum pair swinging doors, which is
Okay.
what was
Got it.
installed.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I
Okay,
have
and
a
then,
similar- Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. I thought you were finished, Ricky.
oh no, it was about the front. If you were, or my next one is not about the front. If your question was about the front part over here. Okay. The other question that I had, was in regards to that picture you were showing of the units, kind of like the street view of the units, of the two-stone house, where you're saying there used to be historical covers and they were removed. Do you know when or why those were removed?
I actually don't know that information. They were a grouted breeze block type of construction, and it might have been for weight concerns, possibly. The building has, as I will speak about here in a moment, on the 17th floor, has experienced some near structural failures in the past. So it is possible that it's related to that, though I do not know for sure.
Okay, and are those structures that you're replacing on the top, are those going to be smaller than the ones that are currently there, or the same size or larger?
As now, they will be approximately the same in like zoning and groupings, but may have overall a larger footprint potentially, or have a different configuration. So for instance, if there's 3 large items now, it might be 8 smaller units in lieu. And there may be an instance where we need to add additional units in locations where they currently are not. And so we're investigating that. We're sort of early on this process, and this is one of the things that I'm tracking most, as it is so visible from so far away.
Okay, and then on, well, you had mentioned the structural issues that are on the top floor. Is it something that is just like a weight issue, just because the building is so tall, or is that something that you guys are able to reinforce to prevent?
Yes. So we will be bringing the 17th floor back online, and that is going to be part of the next aspect of my presentation here. If we can hold that, maybe if anyone else has any questions about the exterior or site.
I have one about the peripheral fence that's gonna go around.
Yes.
The material and, what, if you have a photograph of that, or does it exist right
Yes.
now?
I may incidentally, so the majority of this fence is extant and is a chain link fence, in some cases with barbed wire or concertina wire, sort of depending on how it is, and we're going to be reevaluating that. It genuinely can't be, I think, overstated that this building has significant security issues, and so I think that we are going to try and improve the visual condition of the chain link fence. But that we will be, and essentially it exists at all locations except for this section now. There is an existing gate here at the southwest, and so the reconfiguration of this sort of parking area is the largest intervention that will be taking place on the site.
I had one other question, and that had to do with, you're replacing all the systems.
Yeah.
Was there any thought, because you're replacing covers over the parking area too, any thought to solar? Or is it just not feasible economically for you?
Well, that's an interesting question, and so we've talked about solar a number of times. Here you can see sort of, I don't have a picture of one of the parking covers. I can maybe get that pulled up here in a moment, but you can see the character of these very thin concrete parking covers, and we will be maintaining those. They are in relatively good condition, so we will not be replacing any of that. We'll be preserving them in place, and just for reference, those exist again here at these yellow areas. We are potentially looking at adding solar at this location if feasible. The building is very tall and casts a shadow which prevents solar from functioning for a large portion of the year over a large proportion of the site. One of the things that we are also investigating currently is that we may be able to provide a solar cover here. There will be, and this is sort of the mechanical and back of house area of the site, we will be adding some new units at ground level here, and we would like to screen those, I think, with a solar shade at this location to screen them from above. And it's an interesting problem because this building is so tall that right now more people have a view of this kind of ugly yard here than entire apartment complexes that we would, normally work on, because this just has any given exposure of this building just has so many people that are kind of looking in that direction.
So Charles, you said units. So is that something that we'd see in a future review? You mean more
Yes.
apartment?
I'm sorry, say again?
Do you mean more apartment units there? Or do
No,
you mean-
no, I'm sorry. In this case, I'm referring to mechanical units.
Oh, I see.
So there'll be a small mechanical yard at this location with outside mechanical units that then we would be screening with the
Okay.
cover.
Okay, no worries. I'm sorry to interrupt there. Go ahead.
No new buildings are being.
So Carol, did you have other questions? Carol?
Yeah, I think you're on mute, Carol.
I muted it. Thank you. A challenging project, and I appreciate your efforts and comments here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is anyone, other commissioners on what we've seen to date before we see the interior real quickly? Joel or Jan?
I guess I have just one quick question about the windows and the weight. I can't remember if you said the doors, whatever they are on each unit having the patio doors or whatever they are, not the sliders, but are those going from single pane to double pane, or?
I believe they're already double pane.
Okay.
They were in 1997, but wherever
Okay.
we are, for instance, we are going to be replacing glass in kind at the 17th floor, and that is a single to double pane transition. And then that will likely also be happening. Did I have that wrong? Is this the south? We'll be doing that. Sorry, here we are at the main entry as well. So where we are required to replace glass for various reasons, it will be replaced with new double pane glass.
Okay. No, I was just wondering if that was part of the weight issue. I know we have friends in a condo building in Portland where you couldn't replace all the glass curtain walls they had with double pane because it was too heavy for a 70s building.
Yeah, I will say that probably would have been a problem if the original amount of glass was still in place, because originally each unit was fully glazed, 100% of the opening. So there was almost 3 times as much glass as there is now. And so that would be a considerable amount of weight on relatively few columns. That's a great point.
But that's actually been reduced by enclosing those areas. Thank you.
Joel, did you have anything?
No, good presentation. I'm on board. Good deal.
Okay, so
let's have a quick
take a
look at
tour
the
inside.
Yeah, I'd like to see the inside. Yeah.
Okay, so here we have some glamorous 60s era folks who lived in the building here, and what you're seeing is the same view here in the 60s and then modern times. And so you can see that there is, in some areas, historic marble remaining, and we will be maintaining that wherever it exists. And but a large percent of it has also been removed. Also, what you are seeing here is a wood-clad, thin wood veneer cladding on this column at that location. And so here's another view of the current status of the lobby. And we're going to next look at a plan of what that originally looked like, as well as a space that we haven't yet been able to identify within the building, but you can see this historic wallpaper, and we will be able to get a copy of this in high enough fidelity that we are going to be reproducing this wallpaper and reinstalling it in some locations where we can identify that it was formerly installed. Just a few views of other key areas of the building. A typical elevator lobby here, which is a high-profile public space that we will be restoring the ceiling back to its original height and removing the acoustical ceiling tile. So right now the ceilings are sadly at 6'10" within this building, and so they're riding right on top of the door trim. And then this is what's called the carriage room. And again, we will be restoring ceiling finishes in this room back to the original configuration. popping back over to the lobby here. So this is the view where these folks were sitting here, and you can see red is where we had marble, orange is where we had wood veneer, and green is where we know that there was wallpaper for sure. And so we're doing as the forensic investigation as we can. We have identified existing terrazzo still exists in this primary vestibule that we will be uncovering and restoring in this main area, as well as here is a call it a dollhouse view of that entry. So we will be restoring the configuration of the lobby to its original configuration and restoring materials with compatible materials where possible, where we are replacing either the wood that is no longer extant or the marble that is no longer extant. So you can see here in this pale pink that that's going to be either a replacement marble or other compatible hard material in the exact configuration. So the idea is that the entry sequence here, the way that you enter the building, the way that you approach, turn, get to the main area, and the elevator lobby will be restored back to the 1960s version thereof. And then really quickly, just to describe the work that's going on in the building. Currently, the basement of the building is a mixture of storage, maintenance, and amenity spaces, with the amenity primarily being in the west wing. And we will be, for the most part, restoring those areas to their original configuration and finishes. Some areas will have their uses changed. So for instance, what was formerly a card room will now become a fitness room. There were 2 dwelling units down in the basement that will be turned over to offices for HCD down in the basement. And then up on the first floor, right now the first floor is predominantly dwelling units, and that is going to be replaced entirely with supportive services office space over here on the east wing, as well as property management, upgraded mailroom, upgraded laundry room, and other amenities for users of the building at level 1. So pulling all of the units off of level 1 is another security protocol that we are undertaking to increase both the actual security of the residents as well as the perceived security of the residents. Looking real quickly here at the typical corridor, so you can see here in the center what the corridor feels like today. There was a high-profile fire that occurred in the 60s here, and so we actually have an image of the corridor at that time. And here's my sort of hacked-together rendering, whereas basically we are putting the ceiling back to its original height and original material, and purging the entirety of the ACT from these areas. Let's see, I think I'll actually, this is an example of the carriage room that we were looking at, which originally was paired with a couple of what were called tea rooms that were separated by, actually, I'm sorry, this is the existing, by movable partitions. We'll be restoring the configuration of this space so that it will again be a flexible space that can be configured in a variety of different ways in the same way that it originally was. And sort of probably what everyone's most interested in here, here's the 17th floor. And so you can see that this was originally a amenity space for people who lived here. It was for a time, as we understand it, a cafe, although I will say that there is, from the historic record, a gap in any photos or documentation of the use of this space, unfortunately. But you can see here the view, and you can also see here, I mentioned that there was a structural failure of this building, and it's because of overburdening of the floor with stored materials, which they were fortunate enough to have been proud of themselves for doing that and to have photographed themselves doing it, which I find to be quite humorous. But we will be undergoing a significant structural upgrade to the floor underneath here so that we can bring this back as an amenity space for the residents of the building, which you can see in that same dollhouse view here. So we will be restoring some of the enclosed spaces to use as a warming kitchen, and then also table and chair storage and so on and so forth. So because you can't see too well out the windows in those photos, I want to share that this is the vista from the building that we will be able to provide with our replacement now clear unstained windows to the north and to the south. And it is unparalleled in town, and we're very proud to be able to bring back this 17th floor in particular. Okay, I'm going to just zoom forward here really quick. So on a typical floor, we are renovating all units. We are bringing them into either type A or type B accessibility, as this is a senior project, and we are combining some of the studio units together so we will be combining 3 studios into 2 one-bedrooms. And one thing that we will be doing is installing a small, whoops, that didn't look small, small railing here on these balconies that are shared between units that will be beneath the level of the current railing. So that's another thing that's happening on the exterior, relatively minor. We don't find it to have a negative impact on the exterior. So just for the record, here's what the units look like now and what they looked like in the 60s. Of course, this is a photo from a fire. And then a little bit sort of a now and then again. And so I'll stop there. I just wanted it's a fantastic project. It's so high profile. I wanted to share some of what we were doing inside, even if it's maybe not germane to the conversation. So thank you for your time.
I mean, it's nice to see it for a holistic view of things, you know, and how the interior interacts with the exterior, really. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions, commissioners? Or
Yeah,
should we?
Teresa, this is Joel. I just wanted, and the use of this is going to be just sort of market value housing.
It's actually going to be low-income senior housing through the city's housing program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It's not currently senior housing, correct? It's like it is low income housing, but it's not limited to seniors right now.
It is approximately 1/3 senior, 1/3 disabled, and 1/3, I guess, recently homeless. I guess transitional. Is that the right word, Sarah?
Yeah, it's not technically designated as senior housing right now. And so in the past, it's been primarily used as senior housing up until the pandemic. And then we kind of have mixed in a lot of different types of folks into the Tucson house. But with this rehabilitation and refinancing structure and repositioning of the Tucson house, it'll become dedicated as senior. Those who live in the Tucson house will have preference to move back through a relocation process. So we're not kicking people out if they aren't senior, but you know, eventually it will become a full senior project.
Okay, thank you. And then I did have a comment about the colored gates up front that you were talking about, you wanted feedback on. I like that the multicolored, like the grading that is the railing for the balconies. I like that that's multicolored. I mean, I like seeing that little bit of color that's downtown because a lot of the buildings that we have down there are not particularly colorful. And there is still such a large like facade of the building that is just a regular tan color that it's nice.
I think
to see
that this is a
color.
very important aspect of the project to us because we're going to be spending a lot of money on this building. And honestly, it's one of the only things that is going to be visible on the exterior. And so surely refreshing that, I think, is key. But we're sort of taking as many opinions as we can about, I think, the color of this. I'll just share that for the way that we have it currently shown in our model here. Let's see, obviously I've snipped it down to nothing, is that we are actually expanding the color palette of that a little bit, taking the color and sort of expanding it a little bit into the rainbow tones.
Let me add to what Charles's comments. We actually did the renovation in 1997, and we invented this changing color scheme. So thanks for the compliment. And so we're just kind of thinking through, you know, when we did it originally, it seemed like it was sort of nice to reflect the kind of thinning out, so to speak, of the building as it got taller, and reflecting that in the color. And we may wind up doing a a similar sequence of color, or we may do a different sequence or something entirely different, but that was not, and originally it was all blue. This rainbow change was work that we did in 1997.
Thank you for that clarification. Also just thank you for the very detailed explanation of the building and everything that you guys are going to be doing. It's nice to see this building still getting a lot of love many years later.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? The last comment, but
This is Jan. Yeah, thanks. This is great and it's very exciting. I just had one question about the residents. Are they all being moved out while you work, or will it be phased, or will some people continue to live there and move around? Or
Yes, so the work will be phased. We're calling it 4 phases, though it's really a rolling phasing. So approximately 1/4 of the residents will be, let's just say, displaced at any given time. And after the initial move, which hopefully through attrition, sort of from a point in time to when the work starts, there will be some level of vacancy, is that there will be a move, hopefully within the building for people who are interested, down as low as possible, because we're starting work at the top and then moving down sort of 4 stories at a time, with the goal being that as your apartment is renovated, hopefully you're moved down and then you move back up into a renovated unit. Some people will probably be off-site, and some may not be interested in returning, some may return from off-site.
no, that's great. Thank you.
any final questions by anyone?
This is Carol. I like the color scheme with the different colors. It gives a little bit of a horizontal look to it, and we have beautiful sunsets here, so I kind of like the that whole idea. I think it's very nice.
Right.
Thank you, Carol. Anyone? Okay, well, I think we're supportive and we will hear from you again, I suspect. Correct, Jody? I think we will.
Correct. Sorry, correct. I have a problem with my mouse and finding my mouse.
That's okay.
But for the PA and actually for the other one too, in this one, because they're city owned, the administrative directive will have them come back for a formal review.
Right. So we look forward to that, and good luck on your continuing plan and so forth. So thanks again, and we appreciate the presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate
Thank
your
you.
Thank you.
So I am going to text Savannah, unless you're right in the office with her. No, she's still at the
Yeah,
job site?
I may walk over and just tell her.
Okay.
She walked in before, I think.
Okay, and I'll text her as well. Okay.
Just so you know, item 3C, 502 East University, thought that they would be able to present, but they have a flight to catch, so he has left. And
Okay.
I'm going to reschedule that one for December 14th.
Okay, I'll just mention that for the record on recording once Savannah gets back on. Here she comes. Okay, so we're going to have Savannah returning at 2:04. Are you back on, Savannah?
I am indeed.
Great. Thank you very much. We gave you a little hour break there.
Got back to the office.
PMM projects. They were very cool. So, okay, we'll move on to item 3C, which is at 502 East University. Jody just informed us that this will be rescheduled because the applicant had to leave. So we'll move on to item 3D, which is SD 1023-00110 at 343 South Scott. This is for proposed exterior work, including removal of exterior metal stairs, window repair, and restoration. It's a full review in the Armory Park Historic Preservation Zone. It's a contributing resource. So Jody, could you give us some background on this, including what Armory Park had to say?
Sure. This was heard at the October 17th Armory Park Historic Zone Advisory Board meeting. And they made a motion to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following conditions. One, that the window enclosure in the second-story balcony open arch to be shown on the plans. Two, that the east side basement vent be restored to match other existing vents. Three, that the courtyard wall gate to be rebuilt to the prior to the prior configuration. And four, that the lower raised detail line of the balcony shall be added to the south facade. And it was approved unanimously. And Kevin Volk, who's the applicant, is here to present.
Okay, let's go ahead, Kevin, with your presentation.
Right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. As mentioned, our historic meeting sounds like ancient history. It was way back in October, so I'm very pleased to be in front of you all. Can I share my screen?
Yes, you are a co-host, so you should be good to go.
Okay, great. Please let me know if you see the first slide of the PowerPoint presentation.
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm actually going to turn my camera off because otherwise I'm just going to be looking off camera the whole time. All right, so this is the property we refer to as the Glenwood at 343 South Scott Avenue in downtown Tucson. It was originally built in 1908 as the Hotel Glenwood. It was converted at some point thereafter to multifamily use apartments. And then in 1988 to 1993, it was converted again to a single tenant office building. In about 10 years, a little bit more than 10 years later, it was occupied by the Arizona Theater Company. And then let's see, 2 years ago, they sold it to consolidate their administrative facilities as part of a larger real estate reorganization. We were part of a very competitive bidding process, and we were thrilled to be chosen as local buyers who were familiar with the area. So let's see. So we purchased the property. Because of the architecture. It's a beautiful, stately, elegant building. We've done some work to the building. We've done a lot of work to the interior of the building and some on the exterior, and we'll get into that starting on the next slide. Our plan is it was about 30 office spaces. And our plan is to convert it into 6 condominium units for sale. So in keeping with the majority of the rest of the neighborhood, which is mostly residences that are owned by their occupants. There are a couple of office buildings as well. Here are some photos. This is the west elevation on Scott Avenue. Scott Avenue is we think the most magical, beautiful street in Tucson. At least that's my opinion. I've lived there a couple times at different points in my life myself. This is the southwest elevation. This is the south elevation. Still going around the building. Southeast. And then the east elevation, which because of the alley, we had to piece together a couple of photos. And then the northeast, where you can start to see the north elevation, which is mostly blocked by the adjacent property to the north. This is the 1988 site plan that shows it's essentially a U-shaped building. This is the basic footprint that the property is still in. Here's an aerial of the property as of 2021. And then here's the development zone. Jody, should I walk through the various photos of the contributing properties in the development zone?
If you want to briefly.
Okay, we'll just go really quick. Sorry for any quick moving images, but a lot of columns, a lot of arches in this Armory Park neighborhood, a lot of architectural diversity. This is kind of across the street from this property. Going up Scott Avenue, this is the Arizona Theater Company, excuse me, the Temple of Music and Art, which is operated by the Arizona Theater Company. Property just north of the Arizona Theater Company's theater. This is on the same side of the street going north from the property. Famous blue and yellow Wolverine building. This is an office. And then we get to the San Carlos Apartments complex, made up of a number of different buildings along 13th Street and 6th Avenue. So bas relief, columns, architectural details. Now this is going down 6th Avenue. Continue to go down 6th Avenue. This is all to the east of the property. This is an apartment complex across the alleyway from the property, subject property. Then to the south of the property, this beautiful building in Brady Court. And then, of course, your Midtown Liquors drive-through liquor store, and then across Stone Avenue from that, the police department. So quite a diverse neighborhood. These are the Armory Park Historic District guidelines. And so we just want to start going in what's proposed or what has been done. No additions. Maintaining the size, style, and materials of all windows and doors. Masonry, always using the same material and texture to match the original. No exposed block. No new construction. No modification to chimneys or roofing lines. And on the porches, we did restore, we did install a historic style window where there was one previously. And that was a small, almost porch, probably too small to be really used as a porch, but I think technically a porch. No changes to architectural details. We did have to demolish the rear wall for construction, and we'll be restoring that as built for that condition that Jody mentioned. The mechanical equipment will not be visible from the street. There will be no new fences, no new exterior landscaping. The parking will remain in the rear southeast corner of the property, and the historic sign that's there will remain as it is. So number one of our proposal that we presented was to repaint the exterior of the building. It's in a bright white, bright blue, and a very neutral gray that are not indicative of historic. They are indicative of probably late 80s, early 90s. And there's also a number of issues with the facade in terms of stucco repair, and then really sun damaged, sometimes rotted, and sometimes broken windows. So these are just a couple of examples. And then our proposal is to restore the existing stucco, fill in cracks, and then repair windows when possible, always using Doug fir wood and single pane glass, and then paint the building in historically based colors. Some of this has been done and to this point, and we're hoping to be able to do more to finish out the facade and restore it to what it was prior to the sun and tree damage. To match, always matching the existing texture as noted before. This isn't totally relevant, but just included it because it was interesting. Our plan has been to use Dunn Edwards historically accurate colors that are based off of historical American West colors. So it's kind of cool that a paint company has that appreciation for historic colors. And the goal is really just to take the property away from the clearly late 80s, early 90s colors into something that's more appropriate. And then we had fun looking into what we could find in terms of resources for historic colors and what historic paint colors were for this period, which is the early 1900s. Secondly, the restoration of the window. We've since learned that this was not, that we had done some research, and this window was present in the oldest photos of the building that we could find. And here, let me go to those. The SHPO inventory sheet does detail the windows in this porch. And then, as you will see in the next, you can see where the facade was, and then the brick was exposed where the window had been. So there's that change in the material. So, and then this is an image from a 1955 photo, which is the oldest photo that we could find of the building in our records. And then 1962, again, the window is still filled in. We since learned from the historic committee that the window was likely not original. It was likely added later and then removed later. But our proposal to the historic advisory panel was to restore that window, which had previously been there at one point, and again use single pane window in a wood frame construction, just as all the historic windows were built. All of the windows are using that Doug fir wood and single pane glass, and all of the doors. We've kept all of the exterior doors and all of the interior doors, of which there are about 30. So I've done a lot of work in restoring and sanding those down so that they're able to be used again, rather than getting new doors, even for the interior, to the extent we can avoid it. Finally, in the courtyard, there were metal and concrete stairs that were not originally part of the property, based on the 1924 City of Tucson aerial we found. And then, as we'll see in the next slide, they completely block one window and obscure light and visibility from another window. So this is the enclosure. You can tell the bas relief has changed. These historic windows will get another angle of, and then this enclosure goes right to the bas relief above the keystone above the door. Here's where you can see the stairs go right in front of that historic window, and functionally the whole enclosure blocks light and visibility into this window. This is the 1924 aerial, which shows that wing without the stairs enclosure. So work that we propose that has actually been done is to remove the exterior metal and concrete staircase and bring down the stair enclosure to the extent necessary to remove those stairs and free up those historic windows again. So if you're looking at the bottom left image, which is proposed, we get to see that historic window again, and the other historic window has access to light and visibility. So it's not a major change from the east elevation, given that there's a 6-foot wall, but it does help restore the visibility to those existing historic windows. Speaking of the wall, this is the wall that has been partially demolished for construction, actually right away before we had a chance to tell our contractor not to do it. But this is a non-historic wall that we will be restoring with the same material, same doorway, and in the same location. Let's see. These are the elevations that show existing versus proposed. This is that previously existing window that now has the single pane and wood frame window back in it. We did have to replace broken glass on this window, so wanted to call that out. Replaced more single pane glass. This is the existing east elevation. The bird vents were almost all rotted. I think they were all rotted in terms of the wood. So we made a template that matched the design of that and installed those made out of wood. And then to the, Jody listed the condition that we do the same on the lower vent as well, which isn't shown here, but you can see on the building there are air vents for the basement space to breathe. And those are in decent condition except the one on the east elevation, which for some reason isn't shown on this. So this is the existing elevation with and without the courtyard wall. This is the proposed. Again, this existing historic window is visible again to the courtyard. And then this balcony follows the same line as the balcony footprint. So that balcony footprint remains the same, but the enclosure and the non-historic stairs have been removed. This is the east elevation comparing. This is actually a mistake. I'm sorry about that. This should be existing on top and proposed on the bottom. I think we're almost to the end. And this is another view of that same elevation or same change. Higher elevation. We've restored light into that window. Repair some more single pane glass, and unfortunately there was previous termite damage that predated our ownership on some of these wooden panels on either side of this door. They're actually great doors, half glass and then side lights as part of this whole assembly. So that will be repaired to match the original. Oh, okay. This is the end of the presentation, but I just love this because this was some of the interior hardware that we, not me personally, but members of our team spent tens of hours cleaning and restoring and making sure that we were going to be able to use them once we reinstalled the existing historic doors on the inside. But that is the presentation, and then happy to open it up for questions.
Okay, before we entertain questions, Mr. Volk, I wanted to ask you, so the items that the Historic Zone Advisory Board voted on last October, have you incorporated those changes into these plans? I just want you to state for the record, or not. I mean, are these your original, which plans do we think? The original ones that they saw or modified ones?
These are the original ones that Armory Park saw.
Okay, so just I think to be fair to Armory Park, we should, consider their motion too and the actions they wanted to take, right?
It's your prerogative.
Right. But we should at least consider that and think about it. So who would like to start with questions?
I have a couple questions. This is Jan.
Okay.
One is about that balcony and if that was original or if that was put in when the stairs went in on the east facade.
I believe it was original when this, it was original to the construction of that part of the building, which happened sometime after 1908.
Oh, when
Sorry.
that other wing went in, is that what
Yeah.
you're? Okay, okay.
So that other wing went in sometime before 1924, but after 1908. Sorry. Trying to get all the way back there. Oh, never mind. This is gonna take too long. But the aerial, you can see that there's a main portion in the far southwest, that's more of a square shape, and then the long run on the north is the later addition.
Okay, thank you. And I just had one other question. That was the timing on all the external ironwork on the building. If that was original or at some point, or, you know, when it went in.
It's all after 1962 because we have that postcard. I believe it was a part of the 1988 to 1993 remodel for security. It's also got kind of a oh boy, these photos. All right. You can kind of see it's kind of like a star or a sunburst pattern that's not really historic. So that's my belief, but I should know that because I've looked at the 1988 plan. So I'm sorry to not know for sure if that's part of that.
No, I've just always been curious about that. Thank you. I don't have any other questions. It's exciting to see.
Okay, and who's next with questions?
I'll go next. I have a few.
Okay.
And it was just in reading the comments received from Armory Park, especially regarding the removal of the exterior staircase where a wall needs or a rail needs to be built back to finish the end. It seems like they had some questions about that. Can you describe what's proposed there? Because it doesn't look, it looks like there's like a top rail detail that's not replicated. So I just wanted to understand that better.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stop sharing my screen. Which I believe I did.
Yeah, it's not showing.
Okay. All right. Does everyone see now the back end of the PowerPoint? Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to be able to more seamlessly navigate so we don't have that dizzying display every time. Let me see if I can find that. So, Savannah, this is the detail that doesn't continue. You can see it's part of this wing, but with this new enclosure, they took it and then it stops all of a sudden. And so what we've basically done is take the balcony footprint, which goes out to this wall, and then take that wall all the way across. And then we tried to replicate, you know, this north elevation and make it match the rest of the north elevation. But what John of Armory Park had pointed out was that we did not carry this element around. And part of bringing this back to a more historical footprint is that it gives us the ability to bring that bas relief detail element all the way around. And so we had just missed that.
Okay, so that's on your proposed courtyard south elevation. That's not shown, but you're saying you do want to incorporate that comment in the final. Okay,
absolutely, yeah.
And then there's like, I see like a
and actually,
steel
sir,
top rail.
Here's a good illustration of that. So that just wasn't carried over, and I think he asked, "Is there a reason we didn't?" And I said, "No good reason. That is something we forgot."
Well, is the top rail, was that added to make it code compliant height? Because that's not continued either. And without it, is it the code required guard height?
That I believe was also added in 1988. So that's a good question. If we have to make it code compliant, then we will add a railing.
Okay,
That
it
matches
just looked
that.
like probably that's why that was added, is because it wasn't quite at the right 42 inches or whatnot, and if that's the case,
Yes,
I guess I would suggest just continuing it, but
that
you could
is,
also just raise the new to meet guard height.
yep,
I don't know.
that's a great point. We will do that. We'll make sure it's obviously code compliant to the 42 inches.
And then my other question, I think I agree with them. It's the window replacement. I thought that they thought it was a reasonable design solution to keep like the 3 glass panels that are operable on the straight portion, and then the arched as like a single pane fixed. Is that right for that?
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's fixed.
although you have photos that show it kind of a different design configuration, your comment was that they're when you had the photos of those windows, they weren't original. They were later added and then removed. So
Yeah,
like that one right there.
Yeah, our impression from these photos was that they were original, and then obviously the physical evidence was that they were original. You can see that they later did make the change of enclosing these windows, these 2 windows. So,
Okay.
but yeah, that was we were going based off of the latest imagery or the oldest imagery we had, which is showing the window there. And so yeah, fixed single pane wood construction. And there was precedent in the development zone that I saw that had, it was interesting as we're looking into this, when there was room for multiple arches, either windows or arches, they were open. And when there was only room for one, usually that was enclosed by a window. Just not necessarily relevant to the history of this building, but just interesting observation in the development zone.
Okay, I mean, so if this is original, my inclination would be to try and make the configuration more like this, but you guys had a case for matching the rail and kind of the more contemporary elevation pattern that was established. Is that right? That's why I guess the horizontal of that new opening or that new window is lower than what you were showing or in that original photo.
Right.
Yep. And that's right. That's the intention, is to look more like the others.
Yep.
Okay.
That's the intention.
I mean, I think it's fine with me, but I'd be interested to know what other commissioners thought about that in particular too. If we all agree, I could go either way. So
and I don't know if I can call on John.
Well, John's not on this panel, so he's on Armory Park, and we have their comment. So is this the comment, Savannah, that has to do with the new window enclosure and the second-story balcony open arch to be shown as
yeah.
It
says the half round large pane is intended to mimic the open arches on the second floor balcony rather than replicating I think what we saw in the photo.
So basically Armory Park was saying the new window enclosure is to be shown to be as shown on the plans.
Yeah, as proposed. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think I'm okay with that if everyone else is. And then item 3, the courtyard wall gate to be rebuilt. You had already mentioned that, correct? You had talked about it was non-historic, but it's going to be rebuilt to the prior configuration, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then item 2 is the east side basement vent. to be restored to match others? Can you point that out?
That's a great question. It's probably just out of this frame. Let me see if I can pull it up on a street view and get it that way.
Does it have a full basement? Or is it like a crawl space?
There is a crawl space and a partial basement under this corner of the building.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. The whole building is so cool. Let me see if I can get an image that shows the
Because clearly they saw something, unless they're that intimately familiar with it and it wasn't presented on the plans.
I think if I remember correctly, it had been damaged, and the other vents looked fine. And this one looked less than fine. Oh, you know what? Yeah, here it is. Let
Yeah,
me
that one right there, that to the bottom right, is that a basement vent?
this is the bird vent in question.
The one in
Okay.
the lower right here. Okay.
So yeah, this was prior to us, but it had been filled in instead of being the great kind of somewhat ornate grate pattern that the rest of them have.
So it's
I'm not seeing it. I'm seeing.
okay if you look on
I don't
this.
see it either.
Okay, if you look in sort of the extreme southeast corner of this image, see
Oh,
that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
separate piece.
Am I not showing my web browser now?
It says proposed.
You are not.
Oh, okay.
It's on the
Then that's-
PowerPoint.
That's my fault.
I was like,
All
that's
right.
like
How about now?
frozen.
Yeah, they're okay.
Oh,
That's totally
okay.
different.
Yeah, there.
So this is
okay.
this is what the rest of them look like. It's got a nice historic great pattern. And then when you go, this is before our ownership, but you can see that it's closed in.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
You're gonna replace that. You're gonna put it back in.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, it's not, we didn't get it with the building, so we're gonna have to kind of recreate it with
In some way. Okay.
the same pattern. Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so commissioners, so we've kind of gone through the points raised by Armory Park. So did you have other questions? I didn't mean to butt in on you, Savannah.
No, I everything else looked fine. Thank you.
Okay, so who's next with questions?
This is Ricky. I don't have anything.
Okay, and Joel?
Yeah, this is Joel. No, Savannah covered them all. I needed clarification on a lot of those points. So I appreciate her asking those questions. Thanks.
Great. Carol?
No, I don't have any, and like Savannah, I am okay with whatever's decided on the arch on that upper window for the enclosure area. I actually think that their new plan is aesthetically more appealing, but it would not be the historic, but I could go either way on that.
Okay, I think we caught everyone. Savannah, would you like to make the motion?
Sure. I think I'll just give me a second to get organized, but it'll just kind of be a reiteration of Armory Park's comments.
Okay, that's fine. If you want to
Okay. 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 On the matter of SD-1023-00110 at 343 South Scott, I move to recommend approval of the project as presented with the following comments. That the second level new window is acceptable as proposed. that it is also acceptable that the site wall be rebuilt to match the prior configuration. That the south facade balcony wall at the stair removal get added matching wall details, and a possible added top rail to match required guard height, and that a new basement vent grate be added where existing to match the others
On the east side?
on the east side. Thank you.
Great. And who would second that?
I'll second. This is Carol.
Thank you. Is there discussion on the motion?
This is Jan. I just wanted to add, Savannah had asked about the window, and kind of I could go both ways too, but I think to Carol's point, I think the simpler window with now that there are the sun ray iron work, I think it feels more comfortable aesthetically with the simpler window design. So thank you.
So do we need to modify the motion, or it's okay?
No, that was just a comment.
Okay.
No, I think we're good.
Anyone else? If not, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. Terry votes aye. Jan?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Joel?
I,
Great, thank you. I think I got everyone, yes? 6-0, passes unanimously. And do you, Mr. Vogt, do you need Jody to go over the next steps?
No, and I can follow up with her and offline if I have any questions. She's very responsive, and let you all get back to the rest of your meeting. But thank you all for the input, and thanks Savannah for the 42-inch height comment. That's really, really important. Sometimes things get done that aren't historic for a very good reason. I always prefer the historic, but sometimes there's a reason behind it. So I think that's one of those cases. Thank you. Thank you all.
And you do know that both sets of comments will be considered by the planning director before the decision's made, right? So it's the input from both groups is taken into consideration. So anyway, thank you very much. Good
Absolutely.
luck.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, folks, let's moving right along. Item 4 is the Tucson Rapid Transit Project. And this is 4A is a discussion and action on potential route for the Tucson's bus rapid transit system. And this PRS is hearing this because of the time frame for comment and the fact that in our last full commission meeting, there was a misunderstanding that actually this could have been introduced and discussed and dealt with at that meeting, but then it wasn't. It couldn't. Well, the staff said that we could. So anyway, Jody suggested that we hear it at plans review so that we make the deadline on this. And I've asked the chair of the transportation subcommittee, Carlos Lozano, to be here, and also we have Ian Sampson, who has presented to us before on various topics in full commission and so on. And so I think, Jody, if you're okay with that, I'd like, unless you want to give some background, I would like to have Carlos ask some questions. Is that okay with you?
That's fine. Does Ian or Carlos, do you want to share your screen?
I don't need to, thank you.
Okay.
And Ian may want to after, if after Carlos starts asking questions, but I think we can take care of this relatively succinctly. So go ahead, Carlos.
Thanks, and thanks for inviting me. So Ian, I just had a couple of questions. At your last presentation, I actually, and I believe that the full commission had not seen the most latest presentation by City of Tucson, Tucson Rapid Transit, even though we had seen previous presentations about ETOD and Norte Sur. But the Tucson Rapid Transit presentation indicated that there would be full and partial takes of properties, and we had been previously reassured that the project could be built within the existing right-of-way. Do you know, you have any information on where those takes might occur? Could they, are the stations wider, or are you anticipating sharp turns that can't be accommodated in the existing roadway, or perhaps at a problem with the intersections, or all of the above, or none of the above, or what do you think?
Yeah, hi Carlos. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on with my background here. I tried to a little bit distracting. It's looking kind of inverse to me. So yeah, so you know what I've the information I have from HDR, who is our kind of lead consultant on the project, and I apologize, they're not here to directly answer questions on that. But what they've told me is that those takes essentially would be very minor, kind of going into surface parking and not impacting any actual structures on the corridor. So I guess, and that would be only on Stone Avenue. I think Oracle, there were none. And on Stone, there were 2. And those are, again, potential, kind of subject to the ultimate design of this. But yes, to your question about kind of where in the corridor, I believe they were at intersections to accommodate the, a potential kind of center running bus. There would need to be kind of a slight widening out of the right of way. And so that cuts into kind of a couple of kind of minor street fronting kind of parking areas. So, and I can try and get more details on specifically where those are and what that area is, but I don't have that right now.
Okay, so what I'm anticipating doing is just assuming the worst and recommending, making our usual recommendations that have to do with, preserving the historic streetscape. But the other question I had was, well, I guess since you mentioned Center Run, do you think that Center Run or Side Run would have, would be narrower? Is there any, because we want it to be as narrow as possible so that there's as few potential impacts.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can answer that. I think there would be slightly different impacts on center running versus side running. On a side running, you'd have to have the area kind of adjacent to the sidewalk for station platforms. So, I think, we've experienced that with the streetcar, right? There are some areas where there are center platforms and there are other areas where there are side platforms. And so kind of more area needed to cut into the, I guess, the kind of the sidewalk right of way, you could say. So, but I don't have details on that. Again, we haven't, really gotten into the design process to get into those kind of details yet.
Great. And then you were also asking the public to comment on dedicated bus lanes versus partially dedicated to total sharing with cars. Could that have any impact on adverse effects to historic resources?
I don't believe so. I think if there was a partial dedicated lane, essentially it would be the same lane that would be shared with traffic at some points and dedicated to transit at others. But so I don't anticipate that would have any impact one way or the other. Okay,
so then we probably won't comment on it. But the last question would be that we already have a recommended corridor in mind, but we never did see a comparison between the two. And every road project that we've ever seen has come with a historic inventory. And do you have that? But we haven't seen it, or has it not been done, or what's the status of that?
No, so that's part of the next kind of iteration of this planning process is once we define the corridor that's going to move forward, then we're going to move into the environmental work, which would include that kind of historic resource review. So that would take place next year.
But isn't that kind of backwards? Like it's almost like choosing, you know, the option that you're going to go with without having all the information.
I mean, you're talking about impact avoidance if you have all the information, or at least some information in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, again, and you know, we're looking really within the existing right of way for this roadway, and so you know, any impact again on structures, you know, we're not anticipating any sort of real impact. You know, kind of similar to the streetcar, it would be running within the right of way of the street.
Yeah. Okay, Carlos, go ahead with your questions.
That was my last question, and that's good news. I mean, if that's all there is, then you know, we're pretty happy. Yeah, I have no other questions.
Well, so I can add that we have decided to extend the public comment period to December 8th to accommodate, you know, your comments and questions, and also there were a couple other committees that, you know, didn't meet last month, and so I want to make sure that we've gotten all the feedback. So so if, you know, other questions come up, there's still time to, you know, review any information. I can try and get, you know, more details on
Well, yeah, the thing is,
potential, yeah.
order for us to write a letter. So our next full commission means the 13th. The reason we have to do this now is that otherwise we won't make the deadline of the 8th. Right? And so so we'll have to come up with a motion based on the information we have currently, so that a letter can be, you know, prepared and sent in. So I mean, commissioners, do you have questions, or would you like Carlos to suggest what we might think of as a motion? He can't make the motion, but he's most familiar with this issue.
Perry, Ricky has her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Rick. Thank you. I didn't see that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so my question is about, because the city of Tucson does not maintain Oracle, that's the Arizona Department of Transportation, and TPD and PCSO also don't respond out to any accidents. That's highway patrol. Is that something that you guys are taking into account as a possible issue when you're thinking of choosing Oracle as the main fairway?
Yeah, great question. We've had conversations with ADOT about Oracle. As you're right, there are sections that are state owned, essentially north of Miracle Mile. And you know, we've talked with them, and you know, we've gotten information that they don't see any issues with the cross section that we provided. So you know, whether that, you know, remains in state ownership or not, you know, either way, we don't really anticipate any issues with using Oracle for bus rapid transit.
Oh, okay.
I just think given the amount of uncertainty, even though it sounds pretty good, I think having Carlos run through a draft motion would be really helpful in terms of just us being on the record about concerns that could come up.
Sounds good. Any other commissioners want to comment for Carlos?
I just had one other question, and thanks to Ricky for reminding me about the ADOT factor. So you're saying that it's only south of Miracle Mile, or I mean north of Miracle Mile, that ADOT has jurisdiction. Okay, that's great. So then if you wanted to do, you could still use more flexibility in design south of Miracle Mile than you could on a normal state highway. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying based on conversations we've had with them, they're flexible as well in the design of this. So, you know, they just went through kind of a roadway kind of improvement project for the state section of Oracle. But this project is a few years out, and there were no issues that came up when we went through the potential cross sections for center running on Oracle or side running on Oracle.
Okay, great. Yeah, if no, I can suggest a motion if everyone's ready.
Go ahead, unless someone else has a question.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the motion that I would make if I were making it would be something along the lines that The plans review submit a comment letter to Department of Transportation and Mobility, also copying mayor and council, recommending Oracle as the preferred corridor, and then listing a few of our usual concerns and some of our normal best practice recommendations to reduce adverse effects to historic resources.
Would anyone like to own that motion?
I just have a question about that. Would that be kind of like we've done with the full commission? Really, the recommendation is based on this discussion that the chair work with the chair of the transportation subcommittee to draft a letter incorporating these general concerns or recommendations, but that we don't have everything bulleted out here.
Yeah, I think that's what he's saying. We could add that others, what you just said, work with the chair to do that or whatever, or just assume that that's what we normally do. Because that's what Carlos and I talked about, if depending on what motion passed, right? And you've all seen his letters that he's helped draft on similar DTM issues where, you know, he brings up the best practices repeatedly, so that, you know, hopefully someone will read them and remember them at some point. So anyway, just so you're okay, do you want to make that motion? How much do you want it? You don't have to repeat it, because Carlos will send it to me, but do you want to add that other part about the PRS chair, right, work with the chair of the transportation subcommittee, or just assume that that's what we're doing?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable making a motion like that.
Okay.
Okay. In the matter of the Tucson Rapid Transit project, PRS subcommittee recommends a preference for the Oracle route location, and also concern that historic and cultural resource impacts be avoided, and that a chair of the commission work with the chair of the transportation subcommittee to draft a letter to Tucson, whatever they're called now, DTM, expressing these concerns.
Okay, great. Is there a second for that?
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Okay. Is there further discussion? Questions?
This Joel, just my understanding is that the reason we're doing this is we're up against the deadline, and I just want, it's more of a comment that we encourage the writers to meet the deadline.
Well, you don't need to add that. We're on it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just, it's more of a comment than a, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and basically this, I think it's our only way of commenting as a representative piece of the commission with Carlos' presentation. So any other comments, or should I go ahead and call the vote?
I'll wait till after the vote, but I just have one question after the vote.
Okay. Terry says aye. Ricky? Ricky, are you there? You're on mute.
I couldn't get to my mute. Aye.
Thank you. Carol?
Aye.
Joel?
Aye.
Savannah?
Aye.
And who am I missing? Jan?
Aye.
0, and go ahead with your question.
Oh, it was the procedural question from the full commission meeting, and it sounds like, in fact, if something comes up when each of the subcommittees are presenting, they're always listed as discussion and action. So in fact, we could have acted on this at the full commission. Is that correct? It sounded like you were saying that.
Yeah, and I think our new staff person was just anxious about following what she didn't understand what the quorum for the full commission was.
Well,
But she went
But
and
we
asked her
haven't- well-
supervisor, And then
But
we
we
still
had
got
a
that answer.
quorum. Yeah,
Right,
we had a
but-
quorum.
She gave the wrong number for a quorum. She thought we needed one more person than we did.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought-
and
Oh,
there
even
was-
though we had a quorum for the meeting, we didn't have a quorum to vote? That doesn't make sense.
No. She at
The
first, at the
issue was
beginning,
sunshine. The
It's good.
issue was it hadn't been posted for action.
But
Right.
the
She
thing
thought we
is,
needed 14 people for a quorum, but we only need 13 people for a
No,
quorum. So
we
she
need
at the
12.
beginning,
We need-
12, sorry, 12, and she thought we needed 13. So at the beginning, she was claiming that we did not have a quorum when we in fact
then why
did.
were we meeting? I mean, we're not even supposed to
Yeah.
meet. That's crazy.
right, and then the other
Yeah.
issue was that we didn't, something inadvertently got left off the agenda, the discussion action thing. So that's why it's so important that we review, when we get the agenda, we review it, because there's no reason not to have
Yeah.
action on this type of thing.
And
know,
if there's a concern about order, then maybe our report should go at the very end of the agenda. So if stuff comes up and somehow we're being told it's out of order, then it can then be covered later.
Yeah, well, I think she was very apologetic, and I would have probably put it through if I'd been on, but Jen didn't feel confident doing so.
Okay.
And
Okay,
whatever.
well, I just want to
Yeah.
be clear for future.
Right, and we're grateful to Jody for saying this would be an option. So,
Mhm.
thank you, Carlos. Thank you, Ian, for being
Thank you,
on.
Carlos.
Carlos, you need to take
Yeah.
off to work.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Yeah, okay, I'll have you leaving around 3:02 or something. So
Okay.
thanks again, and I'll
Thanks.
hear from you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Soon, and take care. Okay, item 5 is Task Force on Inclusivity Report Recommendations. 5A is discussion on best practices for naming of city and county owned physical assets, and there's no report at this time. Item 6 is newly added item from the original agenda on discussion and vote on virtual, hybrid, and in-person meetings. So this is something that the city clerk came up with. Some groups have gone back to hybrid, I believe, right, or in person, Jody, such as Fort Lowell, but we have to make an official vote on what we want to do. And so there's 3 options. One is to remain virtual, one is to go hybrid, and one is to just do solely in-person meetings. Hybrid would be anybody could be on. I mean, Jody would have to staff the meeting in the conference room, in her building. Like, I'm not sure exactly in your offices, but you said 1 floor up, maybe.
Yeah, so we had at the last meeting when you weren't present, we did talk about going hybrid. And the general consensus was they would like to go hybrid or at least try it. And so I had booked a room. It was actually on the 2nd floor. I think it's a little bit larger and it'll accommodate us. But then we got the notification from the city clerk about it. So to be official and all on board and all that good stuff, I have put it off and put it on the agenda so that we can take the vote on it. How you would like to proceed. I mean, they have their guidelines and we can definitely try them out. But I don't know how I know how you feel, but it would just be copacetic to vote on it.
No, I think we need to vote because they're kind of requiring each group to vote on it. And then you can try it out and go back. And we did get clarification on remaining entirely virtual if that's what we want. If we still have the virtual option if we went hybrid.
Just
Go ahead.
understand we'll not be going back to paper. It'll all still be electronic for the plans review and everything like that. So there will no longer be paper.
Well, there hasn't been for ages.
I know, but people are still expecting paper, so I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, no paper. So the only
Can
thing
I make a motion?
Yeah.
Okay. I motion to have PRS go to a hybrid format for the following meetings moving forward.
I'll second that.
Okay. All right. Is there further discussion? So Jody, this would be in effect for the meeting on December 14th, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right, sounds good. And I'll go ahead and call the roll. No other discussion. Terry says aye. Joel?
You're
Yes.
muted, Joe.
Yes, okay. Savannah?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Vicky?
Aye.
Jan?
Aye.
Right, so you will report that, Jody, and we will be going virtual going hybrid on the 14th.
Correct.
And did you find out about people that would be attending in person? Would they be able to get, which can they park in a garage and get reimbursed if they need to?
Yes, I think there was actually a response about parking in the garage that's on City Hall, under City Hall, and
But
being
that
able
was
to do that.
full option.
I want to clarify that though with Carla, and I know you guys used to park in the library parking garage, and we gave you stickers. So
Yeah,
I
you
had
let it, yeah.
I
think it
asked
was
the
only, yeah.
sorry, I had to ask the question. I haven't heard back yet, so I'm gonna push that issue now that we are officially hybrid. I will push the issue.
And there is the room in the same building we used to meet in?
Yes, so you used
Okay.
to meet at 201 North Stone,
Yeah,
where development services are, but we will be on I'm gonna try to book the second floor. So remember when we had that meeting with Diane Keaton and we were in a small room on the third floor?
Yeah.
This room is slightly bigger, but it's on a different floor.
Okay,
Right.
well, you let us know all that in plenty of time. So I think it's much easier to manage those, right, than for the larger group. So, okay, well, great. Let's move on to item 7, current issues for information discussion.
Michael,
Yes, I'm here.
do you want to talk about minor reviews?
Sure, why not?
Sorry, go ahead.
So we have minor reviews that we completed within our last meeting. I did that with Commissioner Ireland. I think he has his notes out, so I can call them up and he will give you an idea of what happened. The first one was 166 West Alameda. That one was for a gate.
Go ahead, Joel. You're on mute. Thank
Yeah,
you.
166 West Alameda had to do with a new gate. Just a second, let me just review my note here.
Let me add for the record that is in air procedure.
It was
Okay.
what?
It's in El Presidio.
That's right. It's a 166 West Alameda. And it's an application for a new gate. With the permission of the applicant, we did the review. We being Ilya Sloan. He's the co-chair of the El Presidio Advisory Board, and Michael and I. Ilya was not there, but it passed 3-0 based on the documents that were presented to allow the gate for security as it was presented. So we approved that 3-0.
Okay, and what was the other one, Michael?
The second one was at 746 South Osborne Avenue. That one is in the barrio and it's for the solar panel.
Okay, how did that one go, Joel?
Yeah, and we approved that. As presented. I believe. Yes.
The third one was also still in the barrio, which is 196 West Simpson.
Yeah,
For
196.
Udon.
Yeah, so there's a courtyard on the back of that property, we were checking to make sure that the addition will not affect the status of the main building, the gate being punched through the north part of the structure. So there's, so I'm just trying to read my notes. Solid wood door, there was no change in the new gate, and a flood barrier to protect the, adobe and leave the vegetable as is. And then with those conditions, it was approved.
And the last one that we did was at 911 North Second Avenue in West University. That one was for a solar panel installation.
Yeah, 911 North Second Avenue, and yeah, we met with Rachel from WooZab, and Holly was the solar consultant. And she appears in a lot of these in West University. The solar panels were simply 3 inches off the south side of the slanted of the house, and we approved it unanimously because there was no way to see the solar panels only 3 inches off the south slant of the house.
Okay.
And then, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, I have like about 5 minor reviews that I want to schedule for sometime next week. The first one being at 820 North 3rd Avenue, which is for a roof in West University. The second one being 821 South 2nd Avenue for a solar panel in Amory Park. The third one being 5407 East Francisco Loop in Fort Law.
Hmm.
The next one being 510 East 18th Street, which is a fence in Amory Park. And the last one would be 420 East 4th Street for a fence in West University. I would like volunteers for this for sometime next week, if possible.
Is anyone willing to volunteer now, or does Michael need to reach out?
I could
Michael,
do.
I have time.
Okay, Ricky, got you.
And then Carol was also volunteering. Carol, do you have a preference on which one?
I could do the Armory Park ones, but that might be better for you. I don't know, Ricky.
Yeah, I can do in the morning, Monday, Tuesday, actually any day in the morning.
Okay.
Except Wednesday or Thursday, it has to be before 11 a.m.
Okay. How about you, Kev?
Okay, and I have kind of almost I could do Monday or Thursday, but I wouldn't be able to do Tuesday or Wednesday.
That's fine. So you prefer mornings or afternoon?
Probably the mornings would be better, but kind of late morning. I have an appointment, an early appointment on the 4th. I could do like about 10 o'clock or so. Would that work?
Yeah, that will work. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everyone.
Thank you both.
Okay, item 7B is appeals. Any
So-
update on appeals?
Yeah, so I'll step in, Michael. As you recall, there was an appeal that was issued for 5259 East Fort Lowell. That was heard by Mayor Council on November 14th. They opened the public hearing on it, and they currently have the public hearing open, which means they basically have continued the case. The city manager has said that he will try to mediate between the property owner, Kayla Norgood, and the co-chair, Elaine Hill of the Fort Lowell Historic Zone Advisory Board. So that's what's happening right now. It is expected potentially to come back in mid-December to mayor and council to see if they were able to come to a, what's the word I'm looking for? Agreeable decision for both of them. And pretty much that's what's going on. And we don't have any other appeals at this point.
Okay. Item 7C.
The the same standard ongoing, working with our facilitator on getting these cases before you.
Item 7D is review process. I want to mention something I have been meaning to mention. I received a mailed notice of public hearing about being on December 12th at or about 5:30 in the Mayor and Council chambers for the demolition relocation plan for those homes in West University. So, you know, the ones on Speedway. So, I was thinking, Jody, of just copying this, and I mean, we've already weighed in on plans review on this, correct? That was months ago.
Yes, and all of the commission members should have gotten that notice.
Exactly. So I just want to remind them, but so he did that.
You were cutting out, Terry. You're cutting out for me.
Oh,
I don't know if you're cutting out for anybody else.
Yeah, is that better?
Yeah, I cannot understand.
I can't hear.
Okay, is that better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that if we already weighed in on this, should communication our vote correct, or is there anything else we need to do so that Mayor and Council know that we voted on this, Jody?
They know it's in the staff report. There's a
cool.
There's a staff report for the demo, and then there's a staff report for the amendment to the main gate district for it. There is public comment, so if you feel that you would like to come and speak during public comment to let them know that you're part of the plans review subcommittee and you're reviewed, blah, 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 you're welcome to do that too.
Yeah, and I think it would be cool that if also information be on the website for council.
Wow, you're cutting out again, just so you know.
I have to deal with
it's like
Can't hear you, Jerry.
Jody, was that emailed or was it like mailed?
It's mailed. It's mailed.
Snail
It was
mail.
It was snail mail.
It was mail, yeah.
I have not gotten that.
I'm gonna send.
I have a question. I think you just answered it, Jody, because I was going to try to go to that, but I wasn't sure if I should speak as just a private citizen or if I should say something about being on the commission. What's the appropriate thing to do there?
Well, we usually tell people not to speak.
Terry, you're cutting out so bad we cannot understand you.
So to hopefully answer for Terry, and hopefully I'm answering correctly for Terry, because she is cutting out, I would say if you go, you want to identify yourself. You can identify yourself as a member of the plans review subcommittee that reviewed the project and voted positively on it. Because that's how you went, but you just want to be sure to identify yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, can you hear me at all?
Like every fourth word, I think we can hear from you, Terry.
Stand with on that. Anyway, am I closer to the speaker? Yes or no?
It's still a little chopped up.
Okay, normally we say not to, we don't want just anyone speaking that, if you're just reporting that you're a member of the subcommittee and the subcommittee voted in favor of this, that's one thing. But I mean, we want to prevent people from going and saying, I'm a member of PRS, but I don't agree, even though I voted yes. You know what I mean? So I think you have to be careful, but I think you would all be careful. Yes?
Yeah. Do they want us there? Like, was that invitation just because they're expecting people not to want the project to go through? Because like they haven't ever invited us to things before.
It's a notice, and it's part of the process. And because you were involved in the process, that's why you were noticed. You were directly involved in the process.
Like we're parties of record or something.
Interesting persons, yeah.
Correct.
So it's more a courtesy, I think, notifying us.
Yeah. But I will copy it and send it to everyone, you know, so, you know, scan it.
I
Okay,
have a copy, Terry, so you don't need to send.
Well,
I
Ricky
received it
didn't
in
get
the
it.
mail.
to all commissioners anyway, so, I don't mind. So review, any other issues?
Oh, I would just say, Ricky, if you didn't get it, you might want to check to make sure that the city clerk has your current address.
Yeah, my old address would have been on my parents' house and they did not get it for sure either. Like I was over there
Oh.
yesterday. So it's lost in the void, I guess.
The void that is our mail service that keeps increasing our stamp prices, but that's
Yeah.
just my other issue. Sorry.
Okay, any other review process issues?
I had another process question. I think I brought this up before and I believe there was a good reason for an answer, but I can't remember. When we are doing reviews for projects, kind of preliminary reviews before the project comes before us for action, can we do those at the end of the program as our meeting as opposed to the front end? Because I think this is the second time that a homeowner has been bumped because we have been doing these longer courtesy reviews, and it does take quite a bit of time. And so it's put that person off, and they may be on, well, I know everybody's on a timeline, but is there any way that we can do those first and then do the courtesy reviews afterwards?
I will say that Gabriel didn't notify me that he had a time constraint until I got an email that said, "Hey, I have to go catch a plane." That was the first I had heard of it. I automatically just stick courtesy reviews at the front, but I can try to remember to stick them at the back.
I mean, I don't know, and maybe Savannah would like to weigh in on this because of course she's her company is one of the architectural firms that does do a lot of courtesy reviews, which are wonderful. I'm just wondering if maybe it might be that they may be a little more flexible on their time. I'm not sure. So I just throw that out there.
I'd say so, yeah. We can make any time work.
Okay.
There's more to come too.
Okay.
Well,
Okay.
and I think that we moved fairly quickly through those courtesy reviews because the presentations were so tight, you know?
Yeah.
And
No, they've been excellent reviews. I'm not criticizing that. I just, usually they're more complex projects, so they take a little bit longer. More questions.
yeah, and I would also like to see you put on the agenda when something's a zoning violation, Jody.
Mhm.
Oh,
We mentioned that a few times.
sorry. I will try to remember to do that.
Yeah, it was kind of just snuck in there. And I will say now that the applicant's not here, we had a minor review quite some time ago. It was during COVID, a year or two ago, for HVAC and stuff like that. And it was great. And we talked about the external stuff and the fact that he needed a full review for those. So he's doing a great job, but it is kind of annoying.
Yeah.
A great
So,
project.
Yeah, it's good. So anything else? Okay, let's move on to the summary of public comments. Now, Jody did email us one. It's for a previous project, but you should briefly describe it for the record, Jody, I think, and then just so, rather than referring to it, can you do that?
Sure. So I gave you a little bit of background on it, but it was for 620 North 6th Avenue, SD 1222-00010. He you saw it on October 24th. The decision letter was issued. There was a condition in the decision letter, and it was directly taken from the motion that basically said that the flat caps and deep detailing on the balcony rail and columns shall be simplified to get closer to the historic look. When the property owner received the decision letter, he voiced concern about deep detailing on the new old posts and felt that it was misinterpreted by staff. I clarified with Savannah, who was the motion maker, that she intended to say deep detailing related to the design on the new old posts, and went back and forth with the property owner. I did give a suggestion to the property owner of how he could address that. And so he then put this statement to me because he wanted to talk about it a little bit more. But in the end, his statement is, I want to thank the commission for your professionalism, dedication, and time which you commit to this process. I appreciate the timely response of motion clarification question, which I submitted. We accept the conditions stated in the decision letter and will complete them once the permit is issued. We are excited to have invested in this property and celebrate its rich history as we look to further enhance its unique value. We do have additional plans besides the front door relocation, which we will bring forward in the near future. Thank you and happy holidays, Jose and Adriana Rincon. So that's the ultimate. He was talking about doing an appeal, but I think now he is not going to go forward with an appeal on this.
Yeah, well done. And I think, you know, part of that is that because you drafted the minutes, the draft LAR for that meeting, correct, on the 24th, and and then you had asked me if I had sent it out. I didn't, because I didn't draft the minutes. You know, so I think it's really important to send those motions out to commissioners, at least the motions or the whole thing before it's voted on. You know, or
Right.
before it's voted.
And you're welcome to send out the motions. I mean, I think as we kind of get into this new groove, you know, we send them to you, so you're welcome to send the motions out for the.
Well, I could send the whole thing out. It's safe motions, because there's really nothing else to comment on, because it's back to the skeletal, essentially the skeletal LRs. And I understand why that is. So, because it takes less time, but the motions are still critical. But it also points to the fact that when we make motions, we need to be clear on what deep detailing is. You know what I mean? Because if that's what gets replicated in the decision letter and people don't understand it, I mean, this averted a great thing. It averted a potential appeal, right?
Correct.
And so appreciate it. So, all right, let's go on to item 9, which is future agenda items. What is that for us?
So we have, 502 East University. You'll be seeing that on the 14th. And some other coming items are 717 North 7th Avenue, which is a code violation. 728 East 4th Avenue. 847 North Stone, which you saw previously for 2 courtesy reviews. It's the Gem Show Cafe place. And then there's a solar canopy that's being proposed behind the large cathedral that's associated with Marist College. I always forget the name of the cathedral. But it's it's not actually impacting anything. It is just anything that's designated. It's not a parking lot. So those are the ones that I'm looking at.
So is there potential for 5 reviews?
There is a potential for 5 reviews.
Encourage people to have the review later. That's a lot.
So with that discussion, we are scheduled for the 14th. I'd like to talk about a second date in December. The regularly scheduled meeting would be on the 28th, which is the same week as Christmas, but you know, you'll all be back at work on Thursday. Oh, no humor. No humor.
No,
I
you
will.
say that,
I'll
but
be
I
there.
actually will be at work on Thursday.
No, I will just say that I prefer that. If we're going to be in person, I have to leave right at 3 to pick up my kids. So if 5 seems like it might be difficult to finish in 2 hours, so
We
I'd,
had
I'd
three
be up for the
today and
28th.
it's 3:30. Like,
What's that?
we had 3 today and it's 3:30. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way we're getting 5 done in a.
No, we
Yeah.
had more
Yeah.
than.
We had a
the-
few extra things.
Yeah.
Because
and
we
so-
had,
yeah.
well, we had that one that didn't even present.
Right, it would have been even longer, but I mean, I think we were pretty tight on these courtesy reviews. The first one was fast, the second one, we could have said we didn't want to hear that, but that's a big project for 17 stories, you know? So, anyway, I would just assume meet on the 28th rather than try to jam in another one the week before Christmas.
I agree.
Yeah.
And
I
what-
agree with you.
And
Yeah.
and try and hold them to 3, I think. Just three,
Just make
3
it
PM,
fast.
I mean, 2 hours. I mean, just trying and have it be the exception that we go over instead of becoming the
It's just
rule.
too much, it's too much.
So if we do the 28th, then I can bump some of these to the 28th. I can bump at least one to the 28th.
Why can't
I,
we bump two? Why can't we bump two?
Because I've already promised, well, one is trailed, and then I've already promised 3 of them the 28th because they have been riding me. They've been riding me.
Was the 5 including that one that got bumped from today?
Yes, the 5 is including the one that got bumped from today. I mean, in theory, 847 North Stone should go quick because you've already seen it twice. That's the theory.
Right.
But I can definitely reduce the number.
Well, and the only other option is maybe if we did all 5 and then not have a second meeting.
Uh,
I would rather just have a second meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Then let's
An in-person meeting that's 3 hours long. That sounds terrible.
horrible. They're bad enough virtual. Anyway, okay, so then we'll do the 14th and the 28th.
all right. And you want me to, and do you want to do all 5? Or do you want me to bump at least one to the 28th?
We'll try to get somebody else to be gracious and move to the 28th as well, so we have 2, 3 and 2 if you can, unless they really, really, really want it on the 14th.
Are you saying there's nothing else scheduled or are there others?
No, it would be
lurking?
4 and 1, which is why I'm saying it's silly.
Okay, well, it was unclear to me that Jody was saying there were others lurking besides these 5.
Are there
There-
others?
There's always others lurking, Jan. That's what
Okay,
these projects always lurk. Yes, yes. So, and it's, yeah. But this is what I have for the 14th. So
okay.
I don't know that I can bump more than that one. Because like I said, the other ones have been, I've pushed the solar canopy one off from this agenda to the 14th. But yes.
So what do people want? It's 4 and 1. That's what it looks like it is to be now because of Jody's promises.
And they're,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably best to talk to us first, Jody, because we could just say we're not going to meet a second time, or we have to get off in 2 hours. I mean, this is getting to be, we've never had meetings like this, and I don't understand why it is.
there's a lot of projects coming through. I didn't expect 502 to get bumped, so I was only thinking you were going to have 4 for the 14th.
So what do people want? They want 4 and 1, despite the fact that we could be done and not, but then Jody could pop up with more on the 28th, so we probably just should do 2.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it only helps us in January, right? If somebody gets moved up from January to December, it just means we don't have a 3-hour meeting in January. Hopefully.
Correct.
Yeah, and I appreciate those of you that cheered for me while I was out in November. So, thank you.
Is there
Just
a way
channeled
to,
you.
is there a
What?
way to look at this my memory is last time at our last meeting, we had an analysis that when there was an architect involved, it went much quicker. Is there a way to do an analysis with that, as we're scheduling these, to know that an architect will get us through it quicker or something like that?
I can't make that promise, but I will tell you it was an architect who did Tucson House and he took the longest.
Yeah, true
But
that.
we were kind of asking a lot of questions too, so it was kind
It
of
was a big
on us.
project.
Yeah.
And then,
It's a huge
hopefully-
project.
Yeah.
It was a huge
Yeah.
project. Yeah.
you
I
know,
was
don't
wondering
want-
about violations. It seems like those can take longer, and I know we want to deal with them, but there's no reason they should get first tier
preferential
either.
treatment.
So
Yeah, they should be punished to the full extent, which could mean
28.
I'm just joking. Anyway, I think, and I don't like the fact that applicants decide what's important to us or not. You know, I don't like that.
Yeah, like
mean-
squeaky wheel gets the meeting.
No, or that we don't need to look at the interior. Well, there's interactions between the interior and exterior, and you know, anyway, I'm glad we asked the questions we did.
Well, to be clear, I'm not telling applicants that they're things that are off limits. I tell them that you ask what you ask. I just
No,
tell them be
I'm not
prepared
pointing
to.
He made that comment that
Oh.
you don't, that we didn't, it wasn't pertinent to us, but you know, he doesn't decide what's pertinent to us. We ask questions about who will be living in the building. You know, we're entitled to ask a question. So, and we generally do. So anyway, any other things about future agenda items?
No, I think I got a lot, so I think I'm good.
Okay, so let's, we'll go ahead and adjourn at 3:37, and thank you everyone for your patience.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That's good.
All right.
Thank you.
Take
Bye.
care.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
See you for real.
Bye.